While 2017 was a banner year for video games, 2018 could be even better. Unless you're an absolute curmudgeon, you're sure to find a game or two, or 10, to add to your pre-order list. Here are the games that will probably blow your mind in 2018. Shadow of the Colossus. Sony's 2018 Shadow of the Colossus remaster is much more in-depth than the one it released in 2011. The entire game, including every single graphical asset, has been rebuilt from scratch to take full advantage of the PlayStation 4's technology, with a new and modern control scheme too, although purists can play with the original setup if they prefer. Even with those small changes, this is still the game that you fell in love with way back in 2005. If you've already mastered Shadow of the Colossus, you might get limited mileage out of the upcoming remake. If you haven't, wait for this version. It'll look and play better than ever when it comes out on February 6th. Metal Gear Survive. The multiplayer-focused Metal Gear Survive is set between Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes and The Phantom Pain, and it fuses the series' signature stealth-based challenges with elements lifted from survival games, stuff like resource gathering, weapon crafting, and base fortification. While there's a single-player mode, it sounds like Metal Gear Survive's bread and butter is going to be the cooperative multiplayer, which puts players in teams and asks them to fight off increasingly tough zombie hordes. That's right, Metal Gear has zombies now. If you've played Metal Gear Solid 5, you should feel right at home. Survive uses the same engine and the same control scheme. However, if you're not caught up on the franchise's twisty, impenetrable storyline, don't worry. Metal Gear Survive conveniently takes place in an alternate universe. Start slaughtering zombies on February 20th. Far Cry 5. At the bloody heart of Far Cry 5 is a cult of unhinged believers, hell-bent on seizing a chunk of the American Midwest and transforming its residents into God-loving, and maybe even God-fearing, faithfuls, making it deeply unsettling in all the right ways. Critics say it seems to be building its horror through an uncanny ability to anticipate modern cultural and political trends. But if the whole American Gothic vibe gives you the creeps, you can bring a friend along to keep you sane. For the first time in franchise history, the entire campaign is playable via multiplayer co-op from the start. And if you don't have any real friends ready to play, you can also hire computer-controlled allies to take their place. There's strength in numbers, and Far Cry 5's Doomsday cult has plenty of members. Even the odds by bringing along some teammates of your own on March 27th. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The monster-filled Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is currently in development with former Castlevania head honcho Koji Igarashi. Unsurprisingly, this trippy side-scrolling platformer has been marketed as a spiritual successor to Castlevania, but without all that Belmont baggage. Traverse monster-mucked ruins, climb through crumbling castles, and hunt down a sinister summoner as Miriam, a young orphan plagued by an alchemist's curse that slowly turns her skin to crystal. Surpassing its initial crowdfunding goal with flying colors, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night looks like it'll knock gamers' socks off when it comes to PC, Mac, Linux, and all home consoles, and also PS Vita for good measure in March. We Happy Few. In this 1960s-style dystopian survival horror game, players are trapped in a city called Wellington Wells, where most residents keep themselves in a haze with the help of a drug known as joy. Your goal is to escape the disturbing utopia, and to do so, you'll need to keep your character fed and rested, complete subquests, make sure you blend in with your ultra-stoned neighbors, and stave off withdrawal symptoms. In another interesting twist, Wellington Wells itself is procedurally generated, meaning it's different every time that you play. Altogether, you've got one of 2018's most potentially interesting titles. Get happy on April 13th. God of War. Kratos is back in early 2018, but this isn't your father's God of War. Instead of the sun-drenched Mediterranean, this God of War takes the action to snowy Scandinavia, where Kratos will face off with figures from Norse mythology. This time, our violent hero is joined by his son, Atreus. That changes everything. But before you start worrying that God of War trades action for introspection, rest assured that underneath the mature storyline is a brutal and exciting adventure in the classic franchise style, albeit with a more modern flavor. The tone might be new, but at its core, God of War will still be the god-smashing simulator we've all come to know and love. Like its hero, it's just grown up a little. Marvel's Spider-Man. Does the world need Spider-Man? That seems to be the central question behind Insomniac Games' upcoming PlayStation adventure. With the arrest of Wilson Fisk, better known as the Kingpin, New York's crime rate is at an all-time low. Can Peter Parker scale back his superheroism and enjoy life? Thankfully for us, the answer's no. Marvel's Spider-Man looks like it'll borrow a few combat moves from the Batman Arkham series, all set in a gigantic recreation of New York City filled with villains and allies ripped from the comics. Sorry, Pete, it looks like you're not getting that vacation quite yet. The city still needs you. Crawl some walls in 2018. System Shock. The remake of this 1994 classic centers around a keenly resourceful hacker, the most notorious cyberspace thief in the corporate world, who's taken prisoner by a money-hungry Trioptimum executive, basically a scarier cyberpunk version of a Wall Street banker. This new System Shock, due out in the second quarter of 2018, grips players tight, catapulting them into the post-apocalyptic landscape of Citadel Station, which is inhabited by brainless robots, corrupt cyborgs, and grotesquely mutilated creatures, all engineered to obey the merciless AI. And if that wasn't enough, the developer promises the world of System Shock has never been more immersive or terrifying than in the upcoming reboot. Crackdown 3. An Xbox One exclusive for spring 2018, Crackdown 3 lets you control a super-powered agent who hunts down criminals, but the game's real draw is that you can destroy anything and everything. Literally. By offloading some of the game's processing into the cloud, Crackdown 3 features massively destructible environments, at least in multiplayer, setting the stage for some truly epic battles. If you can see it, you should be able to wreck it. Red Dead Redemption 2. This long-awaited sequel follows in its predecessor's dusty footsteps by returning players to a grimy, crime-ridden version of the American West, giving them a horse, a gun, and letting them do whatever they damn well please. Instead of playing as the noble outlaw John Marston, players will assume control of the out-and-out criminal Arthur Morgan, a member of the notorious Vanderlinde gang. While Marston had his own rugged moral code, Morgan looks like he's a bit more ethically flexible.
Maybe when your mother's finished mourning your father, I'll keep her in black, on your behalf.
As such, Morgan's appearance in the Western Territories probably isn't great news for homesteaders, but should be a lot more fun for players. Expect bar fights, train heists, bank robberies, and more in spring 2018. While Red Dead Redemption 2 is technically a prequel, expect its story to be just as compelling as the originals. Anthem. In this BioWare-developed open-world multiplayer shooter, gamers will join the ranks of the Freelancers, intrepid explorers who fight vicious beasts and gather loot. Players can team up to tackle particularly tough challenges in Anthem's sprawling shared world, assuming different classes like the All-Purpose Ranger or the tank-like Colossus, each of which plays a different role in battle. Best of all, Drew Karpyshyn, lead writer of the first two Mass Effect games, is penning Anthem's story. Hunting for loot is great, but having a good reason to hunt for it is even better. Start exploring in fall 2018. Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human lets players guide multiple characters through a branching storyline that changes based on the user's decisions. But if one character bites the dust, the story continues and adapts to that person's absence. 3 androids, Kara, Connor, and Marcus, serve as our guides into a near-future setting where artificial life forms struggle to find their place in the world. With the players' help, they'll find a way to settle peacefully alongside humanity, take to the streets in a full-fledged revolution in 2018. Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out way back in 2005, and fans have been waiting for a proper follow-up ever since. In 2018, we're finally getting it. As in previous installments, Sora, Goofy, Donald, and other pals will travel to lands based on popular Disney properties, while fighting the evil Heartless. Kingdom Hearts 3 doubles down on the Disney 2. Sora can unleash powerful summon attacks based on Disneyland and Disney World attractions, while the new settings take full advantage of Disney's expanded corporate portfolio. That's right, characters from both Pixar's Toy Story and Marvel's Big Hero 6 are set to make their Kingdom Hearts debut in 2018. Yoshi. In Yoshi for the Nintendo Switch, players can hit a button to jump behind the scenes. Suddenly, you see that the environment's carefully constructed buildings are made out of old cardboard boxes held together by tape. Each side of every level is packed with secrets, and if you want to find everything hidden in the game's various nooks and crannies, you'll have to do some serious exploration through both sides. Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo was one of the best platformers ever made, and if Yoshi is even half as good as that, we're in for an excellent treat. The Avengers Project. Marvel Entertainment and Square Enix promised that the Avengers Project will be full to bursting with familiar faces from the franchise and have an all-new story that will leave fans cheering. Even though the game lacks a set-in-stone release date, the involvement of Tomb Raider developer Crystal Dynamics means we've got Tony Stark-level confidence that fans will love this game. Darksiders 3. In this long-awaited threequel, gamers take on the role of Fury, a horsewoman of the apocalypse marked as Rider of the Black. Her sole desire is to chase down the 7 deadly sins and their servants to dispose of them in a final bloody eradication. Fury has an arsenal of wicked weaponry, like an air-splitting whip and the ability to rebalance fate through magic. Wrapped in the series' signature art style, Darksiders 3, set to come out a full 6 years after Darksiders 2, sure seems like it'll be worth the wait. Code Vein. Watch your neck. Code Vein looks like it'll pack some serious vampire heat, throwing players into the dank pits of a dystopian dungeon to play as a blood-sucking revenant with a network of supernatural powers laid out just beneath his thumb. This third-person action RPG is stuffed with gargantuan, ghoulish bosses and sadistic enemies, all of which can be taken down with a deft hand and a sharp mind. Days Gone. Sony Interactive Entertainment hopes you're not tired of post-apocalyptic zombie brawls quite yet. Days Gone, the upcoming open-world action game set for a 2018 release, is absolutely full of them. Of course, in the game, those rabid, swarming creatures are called freakers, but let's be real, those are zombies. You're not fooling anybody, Sony. Gamers will supposedly have tons of freedom in how they'll take down the game's villains, which include other survivors in addition to undead foes. Oh, and there's also zombie bears. Soul Calibur 6. If you're a longtime fan of this franchise, the newest entry should make you very happy. Soul Calibur 6 marks an intentional return to the series' roots. The game will revisit the story from the very first Soul Calibur game, shedding new light on events and revealing hidden truths about what really went down. It's not all nostalgia, though. A brand new system called Reversal Edge mimics the feeling of parrying and retaliating against opponents in a real-life sword fight, and will let savvy fighters reverse the flow of battle in an instant. All in all, we can't think of a better way to celebrate the Soul Calibur's 20th anniversary than with a game that satisfies old fans while bringing new players into the fold. If early playtests